a good job or own a house.
8 million Venezuelans voting for this assembly, saying it's actually less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him. And 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability.
RTD Live Talk, Thursday evening, 9:37, a couple minutes past 30-minute mark, but yet we're here. Welcome. My name is Mike, the host of RTD Live Talk, Detroit's #1 late-night YouTube talk show. Glad to have you joining me this evening. Looking forward to finding out what's on your mind. More importantly, get your thoughts on a video that was done earlier in reference to a possible alternative that the country of Russia might be considering within the next 30 days, give or take the sanctions situation that happens from Washington, D.C., amongst all the other governmental issues we're having in this country. And then also tonight, as you can tell from tonight's subject title, how the Federal Reserve note this year, I believe, will be experiencing more problems than most people are probably aware of or could have ever anticipated, given the fact there's so many things happening right now beneath the surface that eventually, probably by the end of this year, will eventually reach to the surface. And at that point, everything will be exposed for what it is, which is a big sham, aka a fraud. So with that being the case, welcome. As always, if we have any new viewers to the community, welcome to the channel. More importantly, let me know where you're watching us from. Love to make sure I give you a shout out as well as give you a formal welcome and introduction to the family. And so we have a chat over here to my left. And then also there's a number above my head, 1-833-LIVE-RTD. It's a number for you to call in and to let your voice be heard. And so let's have some real talk as always. So that being the case, want to get your thoughts on a variety of subjects, and more importantly, the subject. I got a couple articles I want to touch on outside of the video I did earlier. So those that haven't had a chance, make sure you guys check that out. I thought it was very interesting and timely given everything that's going on. So a lot of people are diversifying, or as I like to use the word, de-dollarizing, will be really big this year. So we got the New York Redneck. Welcome. Tony, we got Philman, Hernan, R. Rafterman, Andrew, I Big Goliath, Kenneth, what else? What else we got here? Donovan, we got Good Night. Okay, we got low blood pressure from Corpus Christi in the building. We got Alex. It says the wall is to keep us in when the mark of the beast system is imposed on we the people. We have all been played by all these satanic politicians. Only Jesus can save us. Guys, yeah, stay away. Yeah, man, the king himself. And that's a good part, Alex, I'm not sure if you're new to the channel or not, but yet, my people who watch and been here consistently know that I am not one to fret and get all doom and gloom. I don't go that route, because to be doom and gloomish, more so it shows signs of fear, and it also means that if you're operating in fear, then you're probably not standing on faith. And of course, we can't please God without faith. So it's just a matter of realizing that we're reaching the point where, as I've mentioned in the past, that your #1 currency will be your faith in reference to your interaction with the kingdom of heaven, which is ultimately what this is all about at the end of the day. So with that being the case, I feel you 100%. We got Donovan, Louisiana. Welcome, my friend. How are things down in your neck of the woods? Let me know. Be curious to find out what's happening down in Louisiana. Never been down there. Good Night says, waiting with bated breath for the next event. Good night. The event is amongst us right now. So I personally wouldn't be waiting for a particular event to jump off, other than realize that we're experiencing tremors to the, this is going to be the primary story that will lead it to something a lot worse down the line. So what else we got here? It's happening. No wall is good. Good evening. Dexter, how you doing, my friend? Welcome. Hendrick from family from Miami. Welcome, welcome, welcome. The Lord does not give us spirit of fear, but of power, glory, and of a sound mind. Man, there's nothing like some good word to get inside your core and really encourage and lift you up. Alex, I appreciate that, buddy. No jobs in Louisiana. Really? That's not good. Maduro is ahead of OPEC. Tony, don't lie to me like that. I didn't get a chance to check out the news, but let me go ahead and verify that. Let me verify that. And so I saw that today Maduro was reinstated as president, sworn in for a second term, of which it's good to say. Now, mark my words, I'll probably be the first alternative media channel to probably say it this way. But before the end of this year, I will be willing to say that there will be some type of intervention / invasion into Venezuela as another official distraction outside of this wall situation. So if this wall things die down, the government opens back up, we're still going to need some type of static or something to distract people. So don't be surprised at the idea that this right here is not condoned by the U.S. So they're talking about more sanctions, which means more hard times for the Venezuelan people. But then on top of that, they're bringing in more surrounding countries in Venezuela into that same narrative of Maduro is not legitimate. And so if the U.S. is not able to go in directly and to remove that current administration, they will stir up trouble on the borders of Colombia and Guyana, which they're already doing, because I saw an article, I haven't verified it, but I saw an article saying that Guyana, which is to the right of Venezuela, they're having some border issues because ExxonMobil has decided to drill in Venezuelan territory from the Guyanese border, and they're sending troops to the coast. So I'd be willing to bet ExxonMobil, who's also a part of the whole lawsuit to get as much of their funds back for the bondholders and things of that nature and shareholders. So expect some type of conflict within the next couple months, just because it seems very timely, in my opinion. But it says Venezuela President Maduro sworn in for second term. The U.S. and 13 other countries in the Americas said last week that they would not recognize Mr. Maduro's presidency. So U.S. is leading the way. And so the question will be then, if they don't condone it, they don't recognize it, then what are they going to do? They're going to have more countries join in on the sanctions. And the sanctions only come back to bite us in the foot, because it spurs creative ideas and opportunities to go and ditch the dollar. And so it speeds up de-dollarization at the end of the day. But I imagine that's part of the agenda as well. So yeah, so that's going to be interesting right there, my friend. That's going to be very interesting there. So as always, people, phone lines are open. Feel free to give me a call, or let's check into the chat and see what's going on. And as always, any new ideas or thoughts come across your viewpoint, definitely let me know in the chat via articles or videos, and I'll definitely give you a shout out and share it with the audience. Says Pro Mail says, I'm in Louisiana, new subscriber after lurking for a while. If you know your niche in Louisiana, you can and will survive. If you can't make it here, you can't make it anywhere. Pro Mail, I like that attitude, my friend. Definitely. And like I always tell people, whether you're a spiritual man or not, God created you with unique gifts that only you can deliver. And so if you get good at delivering your gift, you'll always have opportunities to serve people. That's just my 2 cents, my belief there. It says, heaven is within. Do people ever read the Bible? Heaven is within. Yes. Oh, man. Arthur Murray, we about to get spiritual tonight. I like this one. I like where this is heading. I'm really feeling this one. It says, why news stop talking about the caravan coming to the border with migrants? Donovan, your guess is good as mine, my friend. And so it's obvious to me, and I'm sure you as well, that the migrant caravan movement was a interesting news topic during the primaries for the midterm elections, because it was another mainstream story that we all could run with, and as a distraction. So now the walls. So we had the midterm caravan in the September, October-ish. That died down. The people are still around that border somewhere, even though I've saw videos and read some reports that a lot of the Mexican authorities and the aid and relief people have caravanned them like a mile or two away from the border into like the desert area. And so some people are happy, some people aren't. But, that's, the question is, what were you expecting when you were going to get here? You should have known ahead of time we wasn't going to let you just walk across the border. and into the U.S. to do what, So I more so blame it on, as I mentioned the other night, definitely crime, corruption, and a lot of those governments left people feeling very desperate to where they felt they had to do what they felt was, necessary. And it's just, I guess, seek new opportunities. Seek new opportunities. Oh, yeah, so we got an article here. And so let me go and get up on this. So, Marquise, very good, my friend. I appreciate you for sending that because that was one of the articles I had right here to get to. And so from this tonight's, title, as you guys can see, the Federal Reserve Note. And so that's what we're going to be talking about this evening, give or take whatever else you have in your mind. But the Federal Reserve Note this year will be under extreme pressure because this year, because of this government shutdown, factored in to the volatility of all the markets, the bond situation that's underway. And if you are a creditor of a government that have abused the privilege of holding the reserve currency of the world that the world has been dependent upon for, 70, 80 years, give or take plus. And that the only thing that the lender, the borrower rather, has been able to do is to continue to rack up debt, and they never bother to touch the principal and barely can pay their interest and still have an attitude of we are the greatest, best thing smoking since who knows, and we can fund everything. Like, did you see today during that press conference where, I know it was yesterday, where President Trump I think it was today. Yeah, it was today at the White House before he left for the wall, where he had his, Make America Great hat on. He was saying that, all it takes is just emergency measure. I can do it right now. We have the funds. We have more than enough funds. And I'm thinking like, where are these funds coming from? I'm like, last time I saw the government charged up 1.4 trillion negative 1.4 trillion, might I add, last year. So where are these emergency funds coming from? So if somebody know where those funds are coming from, feel free to let me know, because I'm thinking like, it's last time I checked, we didn't have no savings account. So long story short, if you're a creditor and that on the other end, the borrower, the one who you gave trillions upon trillions upon trillions to, will not be able to reimburse you your funds, what would you do? You would start moving away from what will be a liability to you one day and try to get ahead of the other creditors so that they all dump at the same time. Hence what's happening right now. And so that's why tonight we're going to be talking about the Federal Reserve Note, which is under a lot of pressure because, once again, the Federal Reserve is a product. Federal Reserve Note is a product of a privately held central bank, and it's their responsibility to keep up the whole facade that, it's backed by something and it's good as gold and it's good but government debt, it's debt instruments that's backed by the treasuries and bonds, but yet we know what's happening in the bond market. So none of this is going to play out well. So let me pull up one of these articles here. So I'll start off with the one that was just given to us, and we can look at this a little further just so you can see what I see. Excuse me. And so this is a very interesting one because it says Russia buys a quarter of world yuan reserves and shift from the dollar. Now, amongst all the things we're hearing on the mainstream news, it's good to say you won't see this blatantly blasted on all mainstream channels at the same time, because what that means to me, what I see, or what I think about when I see this is, if Russia just sold, I think the article mentions 101 billion. They got rid of 101 billion, and just put into perspective, billions. Trump is looking for 5.7 billion for a wall, and that wall is supposed to stretch along the entire border of our country between Texas and California and Mexico. So 5 billion. They just dumped 95 billion plus 5, and they purchased yuan and euros, and I think I read something about a little yen. And so give you some feedback here, just give you a visual aid of what that looks like. And so we have Q1 of last year. This was Russia was sitting on, but they sold that. And so now they've diversified a little bit into Q2. So they dropped 100 right here. And then they took that 100 and they put it in over here a little bit. And they upped their yuan holdings, their euro holdings, and they bought a quarter of the world's yuan reserves that's outside the country. So you let me know what that means, if that doesn't spell trouble for all those extra dollars, those 100 billion that, of course, it's good to say that the Europeans are going to be getting rid of those things as well. And then the Chinese yuan will use that to prop up their situation a little bit, but they're going to be getting rid of those as well. So it is nothing good at the end of the day when it comes to a Federal Reserve note. But as I always mention, for those that's been joining us for quite a while, you know how I always mention understanding the distinction. And if you know monetary history, and you're monetarily aware, do you understand the distinction between a Federal Reserve note and a dollar? And so my model, my school of thought, what we got here, let me check the chat. In my school of thought is that a Federal Reserve note is a product, it's an instrument, a debt-bearing instrument, an interest-bearing debt note from a private institution that happens to have legal authority to govern our money supply. But then, according to the Coinage Act, which is the foundational paperwork that gave us our idea of what our money should be, states that a dollar is an actual physical weight measurement. So the word dollar actually stands for a measurement of weight. So you got a paper and then you got weight. Big difference. So keep that in mind as we move throughout the show a little bit. So anyway, let's get back to the chat a little bit. No one's called in, so nobody must want to talk to me, but that's fine. We're going to make it work anyway. Let me go back up here. It says, what's going on in the chat here? As long as you have ears to hear, keep listening. What else we got here? It says, what else? Squan, the boy Donovan, last I saw, Mexican authorities have been all on them. I'm sorry, I've been live 15 minutes for John Army. Okay, he said, I don't read the Bible, but I like to hear about it. Definitely. Yeah, man. The good word says, what do you think about the French government banning protests? Okay. Veteran, that's a good one there. I wasn't aware of that measure, but let's go ahead and look into that a little further because I'm curious to find out how exactly does he plan on doing that. French to crack down on unauthorized protests. So what qualifies as an unauthorized protest? So when I typed in French government banning protests, the very first thing that came up was this. It says, Egypt bans sale of yellow vests. Are French protests spreading? And so Egypt, I guess, there's going to be some pickup down there. So people are probably going around looking for yellow vests. And the Egyptian government said, nope, you can't sell those things because we don't want yellow vests in our streets. And so it's good to say that if this is, just the title alone, don't know what it says inside, but if Egypt, stepped up and banned the sale of yellow vests, that lets me know that we're having a winter spring event. Remember the what's it called? The summer spring or the what was it? The Middle East. A couple years ago in the Middle East, there was the spring where the upheaval in Egypt, the Middle Eastern Springs or whatever it's called. Anybody remember what that is? Anybody remember that time frame where we're talking about the upheaval in the Middle East? And it was something refreshing springs or something like that. Bank runs and friends banned. Yeah. Okay. So definitely with all this upheaval, that's not going to be good for the euro. So USD is supposed to be 371.25 grains of silver according to CoinJack 72. Douglas, you on top of it, man. That's why I reference the idea that it's a weight. It's a unit of measurement, but a measurement of what? A dollar. Nope. Squandering the boatfish. Yeah, man. So Douglas hit it right on the nail. And so 371.25 grains equates to roughly, now we look at it as, I'll just call it a troy ounce, which is 31.1 grams. So we keep it simple because I think, their measurements has changed since this documentation was put out there. But let's just keep it at a pure ounce. Let's just say a true dollar is an ounce. The Arab winter. Arab Springs was the name of it. And so we're going to call it the European winter. And it looks like it's spreading back to the Arab nation. So, but to give you an idea, it says here, how do we do research in WOs? Why are protests unlikely to spread? Oh, yeah. Right. Okay, this is for the Washington Post. So they're going to put, why are protests unlikely to spread? And so here we have, in Egypt, they're banning yellow vests. And there's talk about it's unlikely to spread. So you can tell this is one of those pieces that want to get you to think the other way. So if you were talking about going to get a yellow vest, you might change your mind because they just said it's not likely to spread. Yeah, so like I mentioned, the thing is, this I think it was earlier this week I hit on the idea that, I anticipate a yellow vest movement here in the U.S. pretty soon. And especially if this government situation doesn't get ironed out, you can believe, the people that, a lot of the Americans that are on government assistance and government aid, they're not even aware of this yellow vest movement outside this country. So I don't think they'll have a vest on, but they're going to definitely be tearing up and looting and burning some stuff. It says, how is the U.S. going to back the dollar with anything? Juwan Isaac. Yeah. How are they going to back the dollar with anything? I'm not sure if they can actually back it with anything because there's too many notes in circulation, digital and paper, that whatever they try to back it with, they would have to readjust the price to some astronomical amount, which would not be in their best interest because that puts a restriction on what they can do as far as borrowing. And I know that they'll never put themselves in a corner where they actually got to have true, honest accounting measures. And so Fort Knox is probably right now. I had, I think it was Dr. Jim Willie on a while back, and talking about Fort Knox and how, he was saying some of his sources or however that played out mentioned that Fort Knox is probably more so used for chemical agents because there's no metals in the vault. So once again, apart from there being some type of miraculous legislation, i.e. what Representative Mooney from West Virginia is trying to do to reinstate gold into our psyches as a real money, there will be no audit of anything like that. And so it says the yuan is backed by gold. Russia and China have purchased a lot of gold. Yeah, so it's the oil futures. The oil futures are redeemable in gold. And so it's good to say that eventually, like I mentioned before, China has a cryptocurrency that they've been working on, as well as Russia. And so I would imagine and guarantee somewhat that whatever is rolled out that's pegged to something, it will be crypto based, because that's easier to manage because it's code and it's not something that actually costs as far as having to print notes and issue pieces of paper, which you got to keep track of, as opposed to digits on a screen. So that's what it is. It says, what about the 21 trillion? Yes, trillion that was laundered through DOD and HUD over the past 20 years, as Dr. Mark Skidmore at Michigan State. Douglas, that's some good stuff there, man. And so once again, that 21 trillion that you're referring to that was brought up from that professor is basically what he was able to uncover over the last, however long he's been doing that research. But my guess would be that there's a lot more than just 21 trillion missing outside of the 21 that's on our books, outside of the 100 plus that's in all the Medicaid, Medicare, and the retirement accounts for government workers. So it's good to say, since there's never been an official audit or any type of true accounting measures for the Federal Reserve, I will be willing to bet that there's a lot more in existence than what we actually are told from his research. So 21 trillion is nothing compared to what's really out there, I believe. So some states quietly passed laws recognizing gold and silver as money. Texas, Utah, Kansas. Texas, very good point there, man. And so definitely Utah. I'm a big fan of what happened in Utah. So there's, I think, 5 or 6 states now, all for the most part West, and I think 1 or 2 Middle East, that has gold legislation, which basically just makes it obvious as to what it already was. It's always been gold. And so they just basically removing the capital gains aspect of it and then making it available for people to actually put into circulation and to pay taxes with. And so the moment you can pay your bills and you pay your taxes, because a lot of people who may not know their history, a lot of legal tender, coinage act type things all start off with being able to pay your taxes. And if you can pay your taxes with it, then it's good, it's gold. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? Hello? Let me get somebody on here. Hello? Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? All right, let me go to my backup measure. Got to go to the backup measure. All right, give me a call back and we'll get you on here. I apologize for that. Once again, trying to make things somewhat smoother on my end, but it doesn't seem to be working. But that's what happens. It says, true, my thing is, no one knows the truth unless witnessed for themselves. I wasn't around when Jesus was so-called, only go by doctrine. I so didn't believe anything else. So it looks like we still have some spirit. Ooh, God dang it. Man. Gets me every time. I gotta stop. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, Mike. It's Russell from Missouri.
Russell from Missouri. How you doing this evening, my friend? What's on your mind?
Doing fantastic. I had a just a thought.
Yeah.
Kind of a, I don't know if it's really a question. You might have an answer, you might not. But
okay.
I got a email from a friend or a text from a friend.
Mm-hmm.
It was a chain letter thing, wanting me to send it on. I don't send those things on, but I read it,
mm-hmm.
and it talked about a lot of the abuses that our current politicians are perpetrating,
mm-hmm.
such as one term and they can retire on a full, their full pay.
Yeah.
They don't have to live by the same laws that we live. So we're allowing a upper class to be built
mm-hmm.
of the politicians. We're allowing them to be above the law.
Mm-hmm.
How is, and I've thought about this for a long time, and I'm wondering, what am I doing wrong? How can we, as a people, take that back? Because that's not what America was founded on.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't founded on privilege. We were founded on equality.
Yeah.
And it's become so far from that.
Mm-hmm.
How do we? Is it past the point where we can actually take it back, or is that even a possibility?
Okay, that's a very good point there. And so that's definitely a concern. And so the first thing that came to my mind when you referenced the idea of taking back and basically having a little bit of say-so and authority over the people's voice, basically. And so right now, I'm about to try to find it, but there's a progressive movement now that the Democrats hold the House, or the Senate rather. And so they're looking to basically give the people a voice again, but they're doing it in the form of a ballot. So I know when it comes to the increase in wages now, a lot of states had it a special ballot where people actually will get a chance to choose in 2020 whether or not they want to raise the minimum wage for that particular state or whatever. So the whole article I read earlier was about giving people to vote through a ballot. So if you get enough signatures to get something on your books within your state, you then can put it on the ballot come election time and actually have the people vote on it. And so the article was very liberal based. And they were saying, that's what they're gearing up people to get ready for in 2020. So my thought would be the same approach when it comes to all the benefits and privileges that representatives have, as far as all them excessive luxuries and privileges for their entire lives. The best thing would do for the people to voice their opinions and get some ballots going and get some things on the books to where the American public can actually vote on it, whether it probably had to start off in your state or something like that. But that's the best way to actually, take action other than to stir up trouble to where you get a ballot out there and then have it voted on by the people directly. And so that's the only thing I can think off the top of my head that will be something that might possibly work and get the attention of all the political figures and let them know that, that they need to get off that high horse in D.C. and get ready come back in Main Street once they leave the D.C. and not have those absorbent type privileges. So that's my thought on that matter.
Well, one thing that you have done pretty well, I don't know how long you've been doing this YouTube program,
mm-hmm.
but you have a voice out there, and people listen to you, and they resonate with you. I would even get behind this if you started a campaign. We just
mm-hmm.
do a grassroots campaign
mm-hmm.
of us starting to trying to get the things on ballots
mm-hmm.
throughout the country, throughout our country,
yeah.
throughout throughout the world, if you will. But just if we start doing that and start a grassroots movement, it
yeah.
might be slow
mm-hmm.
because change takes time. But I think that might be something that I would get behind
mm-hmm.
You in doing something like that. Creating some ballots,
mm-hmm.
creating some things that we could. And I'm not trying to make a new party or anything like that.
Yeah.
We're just trying to take our government back, because Because the honest truth is, here in America, guess what? You and I are the government. We are the government. All of us listening, if there's 150 people on this call tonight, we are the government.
Yeah.
And how the heck have we allowed these, I'm going to say it like I see it right now, how have we allowed these charlatans to come over and we allow them to be above the law? We don't arrest them anymore. We don't tell them, okay, you know, if the president has to have term limits, so do the senators, so do they all need to have term limits.
Yeah.
And there's no such thing anymore as you get one term and you get paid the rest of your life. That's bullcrap. You don't get to not make your kids pay back their student loans, things like that. Things that they've done just behind our backs, stealing our money from us.
Yeah.
So we've allowed the politicians, we as the government have allowed the politicians to do that. And I would get behind the grassroots effort to take it back. It might take us 10, 20 years to do it, but you know what? I'm willing to start the legwork, and if you would call for that and start that, something like that, I bet you could get a grassroots, you know, effort started.
Yeah.
And you know, I heard somebody once in the chat say something about you, putting you down, saying you're just a propagandist. if you start this, you could shut people like that up, because you can't really shut them up in the chat.
Yeah.
But if you start something like this, it's like, no, he's not just a propagandist.
Yeah.
He's putting action. He's having us put action behind his words, and he's doing it there too. So I just
thank you, man.
Thought of that just now, and you know, I don't know if it's something you want to do, but I think you have a voice here, and it can make a difference in this world.
Well, I appreciate that, and thanks for your confidence. And definitely, that's all. I'm open. I'm always open for ways of basically spreading this message of rethinking and waking up. So when it comes to the whole propaganda stuff, I'm like, you know, I have nothing really to gain other than just trying to help people and utilizing my gifts of creativity and my interest in this subject matter to wake people up. So beyond that, we'll see what happens. But no, I thank you for calling, and definitely something to consider and think about. So I'll definitely, you know, put some thought to that. So thank you, my friend.
Excellent.
All right. Yeah, have a good night. Yeah, man. Good stuff as always. Good stuff as always. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, man, I'm calling from Wyoming.
From Wyoming. What's your name?
My name's Brian.
Brian, how you doing, Brian? What's on your mind this evening, my friend?
Yeah, I was calling on to find out. You know, I'm interested in crypto.
Okay.
And I absolutely see a lot of what you're talking about in terms of rethinking the dollar, Mike. And the dollar taking a header, you know, in the not too distant future.
Yeah.
And in regards to like investing in crypto, I got into it not too long ago, in the last couple of months. And like XRP is one of the big things that I've been looking into, and I have money invested in. But I did it off the cuff because a lot of the things that I see on YouTube and things like that, saying, you know, crypto or XRP and Ripple is pushing the market forward, and they're doing all their homework and doing everything right in terms of getting banks in place and everything else.
Yeah.
For doing cross-border business. And my problem is the more that I look into it, the more that I find the people behind it are the people that I
don't want to support.
Don't like.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the whole thing of XRP and Ripple is that, you know, it's been labeled as the banker's coin, and so it's used to make things easier and more convenient for the banking system. And I think a lot of what people are actually getting to crypto for is to rid themselves of that middleman / central banking model altogether. So that's one of those things where, you know, are you supporting the enemy, or are you on a team, or are you looking for profits off of what they do? So yeah, but I hear you though.
Exactly, and that's my concern, because that's really something that I really don't want to support, but I see it making money for me, so I'm kind of at a crossroads. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and so definitely, in my opinion, I personally, I was introduced to Ripple years and years ago. So back when it was whatever, a lot cheaper, and just through experimentation, I'm no longer involved or really have much to do with that project because of the idea of not wanting to condone or support or get involved with something that I'm, you know, more so of speaking against rather, and that's just centrally controlled currency. So not something I'm interested in, but it's one of them things where it's definitely going to go up in price because it's going to be utilized and all that stuff like that. But so if you're using it to make some gains and then you get out or however you choose to do it, it's no right or wrong, but it's one of them things where, you know, if you're really against certain things, then it'd be hard to actually back it. So, but
exactly, the conflict of interest, exactly.
Yeah.
So next question, I got one more quick for you.
No problem.
I don't know a whole lot about it, but in terms of like trading or holding, I know that man, 95% of people are unsuccessful when it comes to trading. Whether it be equities, whether it be stocks, whether it be forex, whether trading period.
Yeah.
So would you find it better to buy and hold and keep things long term in regards to an investment, or actually learning how to trade and roll the dice?
Okay, so once again, this is all my opinion. This is solely an entertainment conversation, so not able to give advice. But my thoughts and my opinion is, depending on your long-term perspective and realizing where you're at and where all this is going. And so however you arrived on this channel, Rethinking the Dollar, you're a person of alternative thinking. And so at the end of the day, this is all about preparation for life beyond the Federal Reserve note. And so my thought process is, unless you are you're skilled, certified, and you know what you're doing, anything else outside of that is an extreme gamble. And so my thought process is stick to what you know, because ultimately we're hedging and leaning against the idea that one day we will not be in a privileged status of having the world reserve currency. And when that day comes, the note instruments that we call money, currency, paper, dinero, dollars, all whatever, may not have that same purchasing power or status. And then what will you have? So now my thought process is weight has always been something that has been historically around forever. You can't go wrong with getting your weight up. And then when it comes to the crypto side of things, all of this is speculative right now with the hopes of promise in the future, because it will be a part of our future. But as far as, gambling, I call it in gambling now. It's not really more so investing unless you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, you're gambling. So how much are you willing? So the question is, how much are you willing to lose?
So it comes down to diversification.
Yeah. And so I even heard one man mention, a man that I respect highly. His name is Robert Kiyosaki. And in one of his books, as well as his overall speeches, he mentions that a person who diversifies also saying that they don't know what they're doing. And so only true people who are willing to stick to their guns will be willing to hang into something high or low and not go about diversification, because what you're saying is that you don't know if it's going to be stocks, bonds, metals, cryptos, golds, houses, art, cars. So that's 8 things that you can diversify into. And of course, this is all just me sharing Robert Kiyosaki's thoughts, but he's a real estate guy and a gold guy. That's it. He said, I'm not diversifying out of nothing, because everything else will tank and those will always be there, because people need housing and gold is money. So that's his school of thought. So, since hearing that, it got me thinking about, really, diving deeper into the words diversification, because that word comes from people in the primary financial realm that want you to diversify your portfolio because they got products for you to buy from them. So that's just my 2 cents. But definitely, man, stick to what you know best, and definitely whatever you are going to and put your money into, make sure you be willing to lose it all if it came down to that, in my opinion.
All right. Well, gold and silver's never been worth nothing, right?
Right. And to my knowledge, unless they start printing off a printing machine, which they are one day will be able to do, but between now and that time, it always retains some type of value. So, but yeah, just having fun with it, man.
Yeah. Right on, Mike. Hey, appreciate it. Love your channel, man. Keep it up.
Thank you
very much.
Appreciate you. Yep. Thank you. Yeah, man. Good stuff. Appreciate the call. Appreciate the call as always. What's going on in the chat? Feel free to call in. 1-833 RTD, and let's get on here. And so, speaking of another which, tonight's conversation, the Federal Reserve note is in big trouble. I want to give you another example that just came across my attention today. It's an article from yesterday, and this is just another nail in the dollar coffin, in my opinion. So here we have Tanzania's Magufuli orders central bank to create gold reserves. And so the question would be, why would Tanzania, a small country in the eastern hemisphere of the continent of Africa, really be looking to diversify away from the dollar? it's because they want to hold gold. So it's a quote here that the president said during a speech recently. It says, Africa, Tanzania's president on Wednesday ordered the central bank to create a gold reserve. So basically, the president ordered the central bank, the leading authority of their country there, which, I'm not sure. Clearly, it's a private institution, but he's told them that it's time to create a gold savings account. That's basically what reserves mean. And so it says Africa is the fourth largest gold producer, and it says, quote, "We should start buying gold. The central bank must invest in this. We must have our reserves in dollars, but also our reserves in gold, because gold is money." So here we have the president here, yesterday, gave a speech about what he's going to do in 2019, or what he's telling his central bank to do in 2019. And so when he says we're going to hold some dollars, but we're also going to hold some gold. Why? Because gold is money. He didn't say dollars is money. He said gold is money. So one thing worth mentioning that, is one of those things that ties into the title. The Federal Reserve is in big trouble for 2019. And so just, I thought I'd just throw that out there. Thought I would just throw that out there. But anyway, what else is going on, people? Let's talk. Got a couple more minutes on here, and we'll definitely go back and forth. The phone lines are open, 1-833-LIVE-RTD. We'd love to hear your voice. And so let me dive into the chat a little bit. And more importantly, if you're on here and you've been going back and forth in the chat, having a good time tonight, just being engaged in the community, don't be afraid to hit that thumbs up button. That is well appreciated, because what that does is helps other people discover what we're doing here this evening, and it allows a community to grow. And the more the community grows, the more people are awoken to the idea that things are changing and they need to get their weight up. Got another caller here.
Mike.
Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name's Pete. I'm calling from the People's Republic of Colorado.
Pete from the People's Republic of Colorado. How you doing this evening? What's on your mind?
Well, better than I couldn't stand it.
Ah, I like that one.
I just want to say that I enjoy your show.
Well, thank you, sir.
And I couldn't help but notice a day or two ago you asked if you were off base.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I might want to throw out there to you is that, perhaps a focus more on education than current events.
Yeah.
And my question to you is, what's real and how do you know?
What's real and how do you know? That's a good one there. And the first thing that comes to my mind is what's real is what you can feel. And so right here in front of me, I got like a little 1 ounce silver coin, and this is real to me. And not only is it real to me, it was real to my great grandparents and their great parents and in the financial realm, in a monetary sense. And so that's the premise of the channel of rethinking the dollar and things of that nature. And so from an educational standpoint, as you hinted at earlier, one of the biggest things I found that is difficult in this day and age, because the majority of the population is asleep and distracted, is to get people to care about things that are of importance, such as their spirituality, their family faith, and their finances. People tend to not want to talk about those things just because it's taboo to talk about those things with strangers or in public. But they're all subjects that you will get around to one day. It'd be better to do it openly before stuff hits the fan and you're forced to address it. And so it's just a matter of people waking up. So as of now, education, other than going back and forth, connecting with individuals like yourself and just waiting for that moment that, if I keep throwing out the real, one day somebody will bite, they'll come into the fold, get educated. And so there's books, there's videos. I mean, I've been doing this for quite a few years now. I've spoken with countless economists, authors. So all the prior interviews is in the description below for people to use as a resource and a tool to educate them on, just basic monetary awareness and history. So it's out there, but you got to have people that wants it. And right now, most people aren't aware that they need it just yet. So, but the time is coming, I believe.
Well, I just say that you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
But the foundation of what I'm saying is that we focus on the day-to-day events. Mm-hmm. Do we have access to honest information?
Yeah.
I'm asking you, do you believe we have access to honest information?
Oh, no, not at all. Everything we receive from the mainstream is covered up and wrapped up in a nice, pretty bow for the public to believe. But then it's us that got to go underneath and as they say, become conspiracy theorists, where just because we're looking at different sides of the coin. So we get the bull crap. We got to go get the truth for ourselves.
But so you'd agree that there is a gap between the narrative and reality.
Yeah, I do agree.
So do we exhaust a lot of effort and speculation, guessing on that gap, or would we be more effective just speaking to education, or is that just too boring if we don't take the day-to-day narrative and try to speculate to gain people's interest?
I would say you need a little bit of speculation / guessing of what could be. Like tonight we can just go through possible scenarios. Like we're talking about the Federal Reserve note, Russia, China, and so we don't know exactly what and when, but we can see based upon their actions what they're doing is not favorable for us in the Western Hemisphere. So we're not speculating or whatever. We're basically preparing, in a sense, for the day that the dollar is no longer what it's supposed to be. So we need a little bit of everything, but at the end of the day, we all have to formulate our own opinions on what's truth and what's not. And so I think a little bit of all that's needed in order to formulate a well-rounded viewpoint that's not far extreme, hocus pocus nonsense, but something that's relevant, rational, and just real talk, as I like to put it.
Dovia ni provia. Trust but verify.
Yeah.
So, we can't verify. The only thing I see is I hear a lot of people calling in, and much like the yellow vest in France, people are very upset. They can see the gap between the narrative and reality, and but there's no consensus on how to move forward. And I see people are very upset, and I also see that they're just uneducated.
Yeah.
You had a caller call in about, having people organize and have a grassroots organization, but to what end? And you were referencing Robert Kiyosaki, and he does invest in God's money, and he does invest in real estate, but everything he writes about is more or less a philosophy, not specifically what to do.
So that's another thing, like in regards to just, the prepper movement. So there's a community of people that's growing, and it's just, people labeled preppers. And so they know that one day certain aspects of their daily lives will shut down. So they are taking steps to get food, get water, get electricity. Some people say get guns, get gold, get bullets. And so those are all steps that people who are anticipating change can do. But yet, because we don't really know how severe or how drastic this change will end up being, if there is a monetary, reset. So we wouldn't know how to actually do it because we've never experienced it. So the only thing we can do is incrementally do things that appear to be things that will be needed in the future. So as far as the action steps from other people and giving advice or whatnot, everybody deep down in their heart, I believe they know something's up. Like you mentioned, the gap between reality and I think reality and fiction, I think you use.
The narrative.
The narrative, right. Narrative, So in between that is what you can feel. Like what you can feel in your gut and what you can feel in your pocketbooks. And so the idea that a lot of people are strapped right now because the government shut down, the paycheck to paycheck, my rent's due at the end of the month, what am I going to do type feeling will cause people to like, man, what's going on here? Like, why is this here? And they may stumble across, you, for example, in a conversation or come across this channel and be like, man, what's going on here? And then we're talking about the idea that the world's changing around them. And so they're just focused on the government shutdown, but this is much bigger than a government shutdown in a wall. And then we can get them asking questions, and just through asking questions, a light bulb may go off to where they may, go here, watch this video, go watch this book, go read this book, and get some new information that could then lead to some type of action plan for them. But yet, without knowledge, they wouldn't know where to look or where to go. So I think the information part, even though it might be the same repetitive information, but yet until it becomes something you actually apply into your life, that's what this is all about. Just giving people something to digest and hoping that it takes root in their heart and they go out and do something about it. And then there's other people out there doing it, so they won't be the first ones to do it as far as preparing for whatever might be coming type of thing.
Well, the only thing that I would say to, potentially steer you is that, perhaps the most terrifying thing to consider is that this reality that we are currently living in doesn't come to an end anytime soon, and that people could learn to live a, productive and wealth-based lifestyle instead of a borrow and consume lifestyle in either event. No, there's no possibility that things could continue indefinitely.
Yeah.
But I have no doubts in their abilities to delay things.
Yeah. And that's the thing, because this is all new in regards to it being a globally connected society now because of computerization technology. So we're all in this at the same time. So I have no doubt that they can punch in the keyboard a couple more digits, a couple more trillion there, keep the stock market elevated, all that stuff. They can keep the illusion going for as long as they want. But as you mentioned, it can't go on forever. So I'm grateful. I'm very thankful for manipulation in the markets because it gives me more time to do what I do, reach out to more people, accumulate at a much cheaper cost than what it might be one day when the manipulation ends. So I'm excited about these times right now because I believe we're living in the greatest point in human history right now because I believe we're in a fine gap of what will be considered the greatest wealth transfer ever as we enter out of this old dying empire of the Federal Reserve note-led economy into something else, depending on what that might be. So, but, depending on how you look at it, perspective-wise, I'm more than excited, factor in the faith aspect of believing God knows, how he's going to take care of his children at the end of the day anyway. So, but no, man, I appreciate you calling and sharing your thoughts this evening.
Well, I appreciate that. The only thing I wanted to say to you is that because of my education, the last 10 years have been remarkably easy. And I have acquired greatly. I know the rules. I don't have a problem with taxes. Everything is easier right now for me than it has ever been. And I do believe in Robert Kiyosaki's 5 Gs. Because the one thing I do know for certain is that the only thing that stays the same is everything is always changing. And change is a certainty. So, it's better to prepare for some type of change than to deny it or ignore it. So, but got another caller here. So I appreciate your call, my friend. Welcome to the community. Thank you.
All right. Have a good evening.
You too.
Yeah, man. That's good stuff there. I appreciate that call there. That was a good one. So, got one more call on here. Give me one more call, and then we're going to log off for this evening. And also, I missed a question in the super chat. I apologize for that. Let me go back and acknowledge that. So we got pressure pipes and make diamonds. Thank you for that love offering. It says, what is your take on a Roth IRA? How do I buy gold? So pressure pipes and make diamonds. So beneath this video, there's a link to a partner of mine, Will Lair from Perpectual Assets LLC. They are a financial / assistance in the little thing you see here, to where they have a program that they walk you through step by step to educate you on how to actually go through the process of taking physical possession of your portfolios and putting it in your own possession. So a lot of people are doing it and it's working quite well for them. So if so the link below this video, Perpetual Assets, click on that, call those guys and they'll take care of you. Tell them Mike sent you. And then also if you go into, I think it was about 2 months ago. 2 months ago, I had Will Lear on the program, and he gave more information about it. So definitely check out, a couple months ago, RTD Live Talk, he joined us. So that would be my recommendation. And it looks like I missed a call. So feel free to call back in, and I'll get you on here. So, so pressure, hope that helps question-wise. But click the link below and go visit Perpetual Assets, and then they will definitely give you more information and give you your way, help you with your options or whatnot. So definitely worth your time there, I believe. And I think I missed another super chat. Maybe I did. Okay, so with that being the case, people, got another call here. Got another call. Let's take this. Oops. Shoot. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? Hello? Try it again. Here we go. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? Hello? Make sure. Yep, I got some people on here, but it's not going through. So feel free to call back in. I got you here, but you're not saying nothing. Hello? Anybody there? All right. As always, got to keep it moving. Give me a call back, and I'll definitely try to get you on here. I promise one more call. We're going to do one more call. But more importantly, as always, people, we're about to log off, so I appreciate everybody hanging out with me this evening. Didn't get a chance to get into the chat much as I wanted to due to some great back and forth over the phones. But as always, people, if you enjoyed the conversation back and forth, be sure to click the thumbs up button because it helps more people find where we're located at in these evenings. And definitely, especially the last call, I believe that, information, giving people information brings about awareness, and awareness brings about action. And so that's what this is all about, making more people aware. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, this is G coming from the East. How you doing tonight, Mike?
I'm doing good, G from the East. How you doing? What's on your mind tonight?
Hey, listen. I want to talk about something real quick. I know you probably pressed for time.
Okay, go ahead.
I want you to play pretend with me, okay? I want you and everybody in chat to play pretend with me.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's say we were the Federal Reserve. And we wanted to inflict a little bit of chaos in America or in any given country. What would be the best way to do that? But keep in mind, we don't want too much chaos because we also still want what? Control.
Yeah.
You follow me so far?
Yeah.
What would you do, Mike?
I want a little shake up, but I don't want to lose control. I want to get people's attention, let them know I'm still in control. What would I do? I feel stumped right now. What would I do? Because I got to think like a criminal. Let me think. Man. I don't know if I got it in me.
Let me nudge you a little bit. Can I nudge you a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Here's what I would do. Starting tomorrow, I would freeze credit. Because everybody knows we're in debt.
Yeah.
So why would I, if I own a bar and Mike keep coming to the bar saying, put it on my tab, eventually one day I'm going to tell him what? You ain't got no tab no more.
Yeah.
Right?
Or pay up on a tab that you got here with me. Pay up on your bill.
We're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
We're saying the exact same thing. So I'm going to freeze everybody in chat's credit. Again, we're playing pretend.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, nobody in chat is going to be able to use their credit card. The only thing you're going to be able to do is pay off your debt. But you got to be able to pay off your debt. I got to give you a way to do it. Okay? Now, here's a little bit of information. As far as physical dollars, I'm talking about reaching in your pocket and actually pulling out some real cabbage. Can I use that slang with your audience? Cabbage.
Feel free.
Real physical dollars.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of dollars in the world.
1.6 trillion.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
1.6 trillion, give or take. 1.6 trillion worth of paper, roughly. Yeah.
Okay. So here's the deal. I still need Mike because I own this bar. I still need Mike to come through and pay on this tab. Now, everybody doesn't have Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Although I would advise, like someone said earlier in chat, always diversify, of course. Diversify the people you talk to. Don't just talk to the black ones. Talk to the white ones, the short ones, the tall ones, the fat ones, the light ones.
Yeah.
Everybody diverse.
Yeah.
But I'll also say everybody doesn't have Bitcoin. Computers go down.
Yeah.
There's scares of EMP and CME charges coming from the sun and from this, that, and the other. I don't have a whole lot of control over the Bitcoin yet.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
In addition to that, there's only so many physical dollars. Now, every dollar got a serial number, correct?
Yes. Yes.
It would be easy for me to move a few computer programs so that whenever you actually use a dollar, it could actually be like the serial number could be read. In effect, really, a dollar is sort of like a Bitcoin. Okay. So I still need you to come through and pay off your bill. So here's what I do. I freeze everyone's credit. Now, people still have jobs. They got to get paid.
Yeah.
Okay? Nothing's going to really stop. Now, by freezing credit, that would create tremendous chaos. Would you not agree? It would literally flip the country over. For example, a drug dealer would now be super rich because they have actual, a lot of people who deal with the underground actually have physical dollars.
Physical cash, yeah.
But soccer moms don't have physical dollars.
Yeah.
Okay?
Good point.
So here's what happens.
Yeah.
So here's what happens. You can still pay off your credit card with those dollars or your Bitcoin or your gold. Although I think it's quite dangerous walking around. Don't get me wrong. I got gold. You got gold. Please have some gold.
Yeah.
Get gold teeth if you want to. But it is very dangerous walking around with gold in your pocket.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, what if you got a hole in your pocket? What if something happens? Don't get me wrong. Have your gold, but I'm just saying it's kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
Okay? To just be walking around with gold.
Right.
People can see the nudge in your pocket. Again, you should have some. But I'm just saying, kind of think about it. Like, again, I'm saying we're just playing pretend.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would freeze credit. I would still have the dollar be, and this is the short term.
Yeah.
Eventually, I think it will all go crypto. It'll be all on your phone like they're doing in countries across the world.
Yeah.
But even in those countries right now, those dollars are still good. Their dollars are still good because you got to have a way to buy into the crypto.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I would freeze credit. And then I would say, Mike, you still have a job, you work, you get paid in something, okay? Even if it's PayPal or whatever, physical dollars. And this is the way I would still be able to control you.
Yeah.
It would just be harder for you to get a dollar in the new order. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now watch this. And so there's, I'm not sure, are you familiar with Bill Holter?
Yes.
And so Bill Holter, he made one of his primary subject matters is, when credit freezes up, the day that credit freezes up. And according to how he would lay it out there, when credit does freeze up, that will be the basically the complete lockdown of the entire economy because everything is digital. And so because there's not enough paper will have a premium to it and it will be vastly important until they decide to print more of it to meet demand, which then becomes a problem. So the day that there's a credit freeze, that means that, being able to have access to your basic goods and services, logistic movement of goods to the grocery store and the bank and all that stuff like that will just be gone. So that right there would definitely get people's attention. But at the end of the day, it's going to cause so much of a panic that it might be hard to reel it back in for yourself. To trying to prove a point, you know what I'm saying? So that would be something that would be like, that's basically the reset, because you take away the ability for people to swipe a card. That is all she wrote. There's no way around that. And then to flick it back on the next day will cause mass chaos. Everybody gonna run to the bank, try to get paper out, and ain't no paper in the bank anyway. So it'll be hard to recover from that little example you gave us within a good amount of time without a lot of casualties of war in the middle of people trying to find goods and services and to get a hold of a dollar bill to use as a savings vehicle. So, but yeah, man, I appreciate you running that by me though. But definitely that would be a little bit much there. You're gonna get everybody's attention, all right?
Well, I mean, look, all I would do is just say if Mike owes a bill. I mean, the bank has all total control over everything everyone's doing.
Yeah.
So I know how much you make, and I know how much you owe. It would be easy to give you, I mean, I personally, it could go a number of different ways. And I understand this Bill Holter example you're giving me. But what I'm saying is, again, I want to play pretend and get you thinking. I remember the other night you said you like to think.
Yeah.
Sometimes you think too much.
Yeah.
All right? So what I would do is, I mean, you would still be able to have a car, but that car would be your worth. It would literally be, and some people in chat are familiar with this term, it would be your quote-unquote mark.
Yeah.
You would be marked.
You would be marked. That's if you own it.
If you own it.
Because if you don't own it, it belongs to the bank. So they're gonna call that thing in. They'll come get it from you.
Right, but remember, we don't want to lose total control.
Yeah.
If we're the Fed, right? We just want to cause a little bit of chaos, and at the same time, people are going to be looking to us to come up with the answer.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're talking about complete pandemonium,
yeah.
And like the caller who just called a minute ago, you're talking about really Molotov cocktails and just straight up rioting in the streets, in which case we probably should change this whole conversation to rethinking the shotgun or warfare.
Good
nice
point,
talking to you, man. Have a good one.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks. Have a good evening.
Yeah.
All right, people. That was it, man. Last phone call. I appreciate it. And so Jerome Lovato, I appreciate you for that love offering. And he says most models of crisis indicate paper money will be key. And so yeah. So if you guys have not, or if you're new to the channel, if you go to the playlist of the channel, go to the RTD Live Talk with Mike playlist portion. Go back probably September. I had a guy, Brian the Banker, who's a member of the community, and he works at one of the two big to fail banks. And he's actually joined me for a show and dropped a lot of knowledge. And his thought process was based upon what he sees behind the scenes at the bank and what he's experienced on his short end of the equation. He mentioned how it's important to have some cash on hand, definitely in the denomination. I want to say he said 20s and 10s, because paper will be key when there's no access to actually withdraw from a bank. So definitely having some on hand will do you wonders, because it will be scarce when there's people are not able to use their cards, their debit cards especially. So definitely, man. So Jerome, definitely, I want to encourage you to check out that RT Live Talk with Brian the Banker. It was definitely a good one. And so he was actually a caller that called in one time, and he kicked some knowledge in like 2 or 3 minutes. And then in the comment section from that night, the caller was, hey man, find that guy, have him on as a guest. And so sure enough, I found him and he joined us and dropped more nuggets. So, but that's what it is, man. As always, people, it's been great hanging out this evening. Thanks for hanging in there with me. More importantly, if you guys want, if you're still here, why not hit that thumbs up button just to get the party started in regards to getting more people on here with us, and so we can have more back and forth and get more great ideas from a variety of people from all over the planet. So it's always good to connect with you guys. But other than that, be safe, be blessed, stay prayed up, and definitely be of good cheer, have faith, and definitely know God has everything under control. So be safe, be blessed. Peace.